So I'm going down to Texas to see this solar eclipse in April. I wanted to get into a little bit of the history of how did some of the ancient cultures see the solar eclipse. So I'm going to read a few different stories. The sun eating dragon. The light of day begins to fade in the middle of the morning. Looking up, you catch a glimpse of what looks like a disk of pure blackness sliding across the face of the sun. Soon the blackness has almost completely covered the sun, and dusk is falling over the land. The air cools, the birds are silent and still. What do you feel as the light drops away? Is an eclipse frightening, beautiful, or both at once? Eclipses appear often in mythology and literature of different cultures and different ages, most often as symbols of obliteration, fear, and the overthrow of the natural order of things. The word eclipse comes from the Greek word meaning abandonment. Quite literally, an eclipse was seen as the sun abandoning the earth. A reoccurring and pervasive embodiment of the eclipse was a dragon or a demon who devours the sun. The ancient Chinese would produce great noise and commotion during an eclipse, banging on pots and drums to frighten away the dragon. The Incas, too, tried to intimidate the creatures who were eating the sun. In India, they took a different tact. People would immerse themselves up to their neck in water, an act of worship they believed helped the sun fight off the dragon. So I found a few more different things about the history, different cultures, and how they viewed the solar eclipse. There's a lot there's a lot of information, so I'm sort of gonna skim over it, narrow it down a little bit. But in Norse mythology, Sun is a goddess named Sol. She rides a chariot created by gods to illuminate the nine worlds from the burning embers that come out of Muspelheim, the world of fire. Two horses named Early Awake and Very Quick draw the sun's chariot. Giant wolf of the species of monsters known as wargs, whose name is Treachery, is constantly chasing sun's chariot. Old Norse names of this warg is Skull. His brother, whose name is Hater, Old Norse Haiti, chases sun's brother Moon, the Old Norse Mani. Edus, the chief of the Norse mythology, state that sun and moon are children of Mundalfari, otherwise little mentioned. The wargs are children of Fenri, the monstrous wolf himself, and the son of Loki. One day the monsters will run down sun and moon, and this will be the end of the world. Solar eclipse is thus an attempt of the warg to devour the sun. Vikings believe that Ragnarok, 3 winters in a row, will come with no spring to revive nature. Then the wargs will swallow the sun and moon, as described in the Younger or Poetic Edda. The Elder or Prose Edda says the soul will be devoured by Fenrir, gods, and Rar, something I can't pronounce, will be killed by the monsters. The humankind will perish in fire, but there will be a new humanity, new sun, the daughter of soul, to shine upon the people. And then for the Irish, this one did not come through. We lost the Irish one. All right, let's move on. We've got the Chinese. This one has come up over and over because this dragon, the dragon eating his own tail, being the symbol of the solar eclipse, and it is the year of the dragon 2024. So in ancient China, it was commonly held that solar eclipse occurred when a celestial dragon attacked and devoured the sun. The Chinese eclipse records are some of the oldest in the world and go back more than 4,000 years. At least one simply states the sun has been eaten. To frighten away the dragon and save the sun, people would bang drums and make loud noises during an eclipse. Since the sun always returned after this ruckus making, it is easy to see how the tradition was perpetuated. Interestingly, it seems the ancient Chinese were not particularly bothered by lunar eclipses, as one text from 90 BCE dismisses them as a common matter. For India, the ancient Hindu mythology provides a rather graphic and disturbing explanation for solar eclipses. According to legend, a cunning demon named Rahu sought to drink the nectar of the gods and thus attain immortality. Disguised as a woman, Rahu attempted to attend a banquet of the gods and was discovered by Vishnu. As punishment, the demon was promptly beheaded, and it is his decapitated head flying around the sky that darkens the sun during an eclipse. Some versions say that Rahu was actually able to steal a sip of the nectar, but was beheaded before the elixir reached the rest of his body. His immortal head, in perpetual pursuit of the sun, sometimes catches and swallows it, but the sun quickly reappears, as Rahu has no throat. For the Inca of South America worshipped Inti, the all-powerful sun god. Inti was generally believed to be benevolent, but solar eclipses were understood to be a sign of his wrath and displeasure. Following an eclipse, spiritual leaders would attempt to divine the source of his anger and determine which sacrifices would be offered. Although the Inca rarely practiced human sacrifice, it is thought that an eclipse was occasionally deemed serious enough to do so. Fasting was also common, and the emperor would often withdraw from public duties during and following an eclipse. Native American. According to Choctaw legend, a mischievous black squirrel gnawing on the sun is the cause of the eclipse. Like the Chinese dragon, the squirrel must be frightened away by the clamor and yells of the events humans witness. Ojibwe and Cree people have a story that a boy, or sometimes dwarf, named Tikabias, sought revenge on the sun for burning him. Despite the prostrations of his sister, he caught the sun in a snare, causing an eclipse. Various animals tried to release the sun from the trap, but only the lower mouse could chew through the ropes and set the sun back on its path. West African are the ancient people of North Togo and Benin. According to their legend, human anger and fighting spread to the sun and the moon, who began to fight with each other and caused an eclipse. The legendary First Mothers urged the villagers to demonstrate peace to the sun and moon to convince them to stop their brawl. During an eclipse, the people make amends for old feuds and peacefully come together to encourage peace between the celestial bodies. I like that one. That one's nice, at least. Surprisingly, ancient Egyptians did not leave any explicit records detailing solar eclipses, though such an event would undoubtedly have been observed by these astronomy savvy sun worshippers. Some scholars have suggested that perhaps eclipses were highly distressing and were deliberately left unrecorded so as to not endow the event with a degree of permanence or tempt the sun god. One Egyptologist had suggested that various references to an apparently metaphorical form of blindness ally with historical eclipse dates and may be symbolic records of these events. Or perhaps papyrus records were simply lost to time. So there's a few different cultures and what their beliefs around the eclipse were about. So I wanted to dig into this a little bit. There's a lot of different things that I read about the history. So I'm going to put together a few more videos. The new moon is in Aries. So there's a video coming out about writing wishes during the new moon. But then this is even more powerful because the new moon is the solar eclipse. The new moon is in Aries. Very, very interesting time. So stay tuned. There is more to come.